All right, ready to dive into something new. Today we're tackling methylene blue supplements.
Methylene Blue. Yeah, it's making a comeback. Not just for those high school science classes anymore.
Not even close. I took a look at the research you sent over. Honestly, I was surprised by how much history there is with this compound.
It's kind of wild when you think about it. Synthesized back in 1876, became a popular dye for textiles pretty quickly.
That's got to be where the blue and methylene blue comes from then, huh?
Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. Late 19th century, scientists started looking at it for medical uses, and boom, methylene blue was being used for all sorts of things. Malaria, even cyanide poisoning.
Wow, from dyeing clothes to fighting diseases, what a jump.
It really is. And that medical use never went away completely. Even today, the FDA approves methylene blue for methemoglobinemia. It's a blood disorder.
So it's got a real medical track record.
Absolutely. But now researchers are getting interested in methylene blue for a whole bunch of new applications, and then
Yeah.
that's what makes this deep dive so interesting, I think.
I am totally ready to dive in. Where should we start?
Well, it's got to be the variety of potential benefits they're studying. We're talking about potential for better brain health, cellular energy, maybe even anti-aging stuff. It seems almost too good to be true.
Yeah, it's definitely got researchers around the world paying attention. And while we have to remember that research takes time, those early results are definitely exciting.
Okay, so let's talk 10x Health for a minute. Their approach to the methylene blue formulation is what really caught my eye. I mean, they've got drops, A&D tablets.
Right. And like you said, the methylene blue tablets come with other ingredients, NSE, niacinamide, glycine.
Yeah, so it seems like they're taking a much more complete approach, almost holistic.
Exactly. And it's really interesting how those added ingredients line up with 10x Health's focus on like optimal health and performance. Take NAC, for example. It's a really strong antioxidant, helps support liver health and detoxification. Then there's niacinamide, that's a B3 vitamin, and it's key for cells to make energy.
And glycine, right. It's an
Glycine.
amino acid. What does it do exactly? Well, glycine's involved in a whole bunch of bodily functions, everything from how our nerves talk to each other to making collagen. So you can see how 10x Health is putting together a formula that goes beyond just methylene blue by itself.
Like they're orchestrating all these benefits with methylene blue as the conductor, right?
That's a great way to put it. And don't forget about their methylene blue drops. Those have mineral oxide and black pepper extract. Again, it suggests they're thinking about how different ingredients work together.
Mineral oxide, yeah, for energy.
You
Makes
got it.
sense. But black pepper extract, isn't that more of a digestion thing?
Well, you're right. It's known to help with digestion, but black pepper extract can actually boost how well your body absorbs other ingredients. So it might actually make the methylene blue even more effective.
Okay, so 10x Health is definitely putting a lot of thought into how they make their methylene blue products. But let's zoom out from 10x for a sec and talk about the science behind methylene blue itself. What is it about this compound that's got researchers so intrigued, especially when it comes to the brain health benefits we've talked about?
Well, it all comes down to these tiny powerhouses in our cells. They're called mitochondria.
Mitochondria, right? They're like the energy factories of our cells or
Yeah.
something like that. I remember learning about them way back when, but I could definitely use a refresher.
Absolutely. They're like these tiny power plants inside every cell, constantly working to turn the food we eat into usable energy. That energy, the fuel they make, it's called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, if you want to get technical.
ATP. So like the more ATP our cells have, the more energy they have to do their thing.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But what's the connection to methylene blue?
Okay, so this is where it gets really cool. Methylene blue actually acts as an electron cycler within the mitochondria.
Wow.
Basically, it helps those tiny power plants work more efficiently, which can lead to more ATP production.
So it's like methylene blue gives our mitochondria a tune-up, helping them produce more of that ATP energy.
You got it. And you know how our brains are notorious for needing a ton of energy?
Right. If they don't get enough, it's like trying to run a supercomputer off a dying battery. Everything goes haywire.
Perfect analogy. And some research suggests that in certain cases of depression, you actually see lower ATP production in some parts of the brain.
So that's why some researchers think methylene blue might help with mood,
Yeah.
because it could potentially increase brain energy.
That's one of the leading theories, and it makes sense, right? But it's not just about increasing energy. It looks like methylene blue also plays a role in protecting those brain cells from damage.
Okay, now we're talking. How does that work?
Remember how I said mitochondria are always working to make energy?
Yeah.
Well, one of the byproducts of that process is something called reactive oxygen species, or ROS for short.
ROS, vaguely familiar. Remind me.
Basically, ROS is like the exhaust fumes from those cellular power plants. Small amounts, no big deal, but let them build up. You get oxidative stress, which is like rusting from the inside out.
Too much ROS is like letting your cells fill up with exhaust. Not good.
Definitely not good. Oxidative stress has been linked to a bunch of health problems, everything from faster aging to chronic diseases. And it's especially bad news for the brain.
Because our brains are packed with those energy-hungry neurons, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense they'd be vulnerable.
Precisely. And this is where methylene blue steps in again. Not only can it help make more energy, but it's also an antioxidant. Helps neutralize that harmful ROS, reduces oxidative stress on our cells.
Wow, so it's a 2-for-1 for our brains. More energy and protection from those damaging exhaust fumes. No wonder researchers are excited about it for brain health.
And there's even more. Methylene blue has also been shown to increase neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity, that's like the hot topic in brain health these days. But what is it, really?
It's a good question because, yeah, you hear it everywhere now. Basically, it means your brain can actually change and adapt throughout your entire life. It's always forming new neural connections, strengthening old ones, even rewiring itself. And it does all that in response to new experiences, things you learn, even injuries.
So our brains are always evolving, changing based on what we do and what happens to us. That's wild.
It is wild, and it's this plasticity that lets us pick up new skills, make memories, recover from things like, concussions or strokes. What's amazing is that methylene blue seems to make this natural process even better.
So you're saying it might actually make our brains more adaptable, more resilient.
That's what the research is pointing to. For example, there are studies that found methylene blue can increase levels of BDNF.
BDNF, another one of those brain acronyms.
Stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it like brain fertilizer.
Fertilizer.
Maybe oversimplifying it, but BDNF is a protein that's essential for those brain cells, neurons, to grow, survive, and stay healthy. And generally, higher BDNF levels mean better cognitive function, better memory, maybe even better mood.
Okay, I'm following you. So methylene blue, because it might boost BDNF, is helping to nourish our brain cells.
Exactly. Like giving your brain the best possible environment to thrive and adapt.
This is all pretty incredible. We've got this compound that might increase energy in our brains, protect against damage, and even improve neuroplasticity. It does seem a little too good to be true.
It's definitely a lot to process. And it's really important to keep in mind that the research is still going on, and methylene blue isn't some miracle cure, but the early findings, really promising.
You said it's not a miracle cure. What are some of the things people should know if they're thinking about trying it?
That's such an important point, and it goes back to why it's so crucial to make personalized health decisions. Methylene blue is generally considered safe, but there are potential risks and interactions, particularly with certain medications.
Like what kinds of medications? What should people be most careful about?
The big one is how methylene blue can interact with medications that affect serotonin.
Serotonin, that's like a major mood regulator, right?
You got it. It's a neurotransmitter, super important for mood, sleep, appetite, all that stuff. And there are some medications, antidepressants, things like SSRIs and MAOIs, they actually work by increasing serotonin levels in the brain.
So what happens if you're taking one of those medications and you take methylene blue too?
Combining them could potentially lead to something called serotonin syndrome. It's a serious reaction, could even be life-threatening.
That sounds scary. What are the signs? Like, how do you know if it's happening?
Symptoms can be kind of mild or really intense. You might see things like agitation, confusion, heart racing, muscle tremors, and in severe cases, it can cause seizures or even a coma.
Yikes. Okay, definitely don't want to mess with that. So if anyone listening is on antidepressants or any medication really, talk to your doctor before even thinking about trying methylene blue.
Absolutely. Always better to be safe. Have a conversation with your doctor about any supplements or medications you're considering, even over-the-counter stuff.
They can look at your health history, any risks, all of that, and help you decide what's right for you.
Exactly. And it's not just about medications. There are some specific health conditions where people need to be extra careful with methylene blue.
Like the G6PD deficiency they mentioned on the 10X Health website.
That's the one. It's a genetic disorder that affects red blood cells, makes people more likely to get a type of anemia, and methylene blue can make those symptoms worse.
Okay, so another situation where talking to your doctor first is non-negotiable.
For sure. It all comes down to personalized health, right?
Yeah.
Something that's great for one person might not be good for another, so knowing your own health situation is super important.
Couldn't agree more. It's easy to get caught up in the hype when a supplement sounds promising, but your health is your responsibility. Do your research, talk to your doctor, and make informed choices.
Well said.
Okay, so let's wrap things up. We've gone pretty deep on methylene blue today, from its early days as a dye to its potential future as, like, a brain health powerhouse. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we talked about the science behind those potential benefits, how it might make our mitochondria work better, protect us from oxidative stress, even boost that neuroplasticity, and keep our brain cells healthy.
And of course, we emphasized how crucial it is to use supplements responsibly, knowing the risks, being aware of potential interactions, and always talking to your doctor first.
Because what's the point of knowledge if you don't use it, right? It's in applying what we learn, making smart decisions, and taking care of ourselves that we really benefit.
I love that. Knowledge is power, but only when we put it into action. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into methylene blue. If you're curious to learn more about 10x Health's methylene blue products, head over to richmondsgym.com/10x supplements.
Until next time, stay curious, everybody.